Come in.
Oh, in the bell. Oh, I see. So I got your name on there. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, in the box and put it at home.
Neighbor's got a big
That's very neat. That's very neat. Well,
got a big party over
we'll
there.
move your phone. Yeah.
Yeah, so
I don't know if you get another one, like I got one right now, I'm talking about.
Huh?
When you don't get used to it.
Even like when I got married, I didn't want to lose my finger.
No.
I said, you never know, might want to horse around.
Neighbor's got a big party going
Hey,
on.
man.
How you doing?
How you been?
Good.
Oh.
Your lead online? Okay.
Where's your sidekick at?
He's over here.
You know my name? You know my name?
Sitting right on top of the coffee pot.
That's what he's doing. Go to YouTube, stirs, type that in. And
How we doing, Charlie?
Found out who was open.
Good.
Just fine.
I heard it.
Was on.
Charlie.
You already.
Hello, Charlie.
Not too long.
The same thing, they said, when Don, they said, hey, Charlie, I never seen you go through there though.
You know, the elevator.
Snuck by? How you doing?
Yeah.
Good.
How's your trip?
Hi, Don.
Okay.
How are
Can you believe they
Just
take
not
that
driving 24 hours.
$450 billion to play baseball?
I couldn't believe that. They was talking even before that.
That's a lake.
Before he signed, they said,
That's a
well,
lake?
we get five
Yeah, okay, it
hundred
is.
or 600. I thought, Christ, they're gonna
You're
pay
late?
him 600.
What'd you do?
And they come up and
Yeah.
said $700.
How
When he
much?
did something, 700 million.
Oh, you fell off that getting that. Last.
For who's this?
Shohei Ohtani.
Is it okay
He's a
now?
pitcher and he hits really good too.
I know what you're saying.
Good shit.
700 million.
Nice. He's not pitching this year though. He's not pitching this year. He's still at church. Yeah, church.
Who's he gonna play for?
The Dodgers.
I didn't.
That's what I told you. I ordered my Shohei for you.
Our
They
deals.
had two men from other teams
They
all
get
around
the same thing.
Yeah.
Somebody said
Toronto.
Toronto and San
So-
Francisco.
I thought he was
Where's
going
all
to
that
go to
money
A guy
coming
told me to put ice
Yeah,
packs
I know.
on, put on my
Money.
foot.
Price of beer's going up in LA, I tell you that.
He got me a bucket of cold water, put ice in
You're back.
so put cold water. So that doesn't help. Well, then this thing
Smart
kind
man.
of flared up.
Smart man.
Yesterday I went and seen a guy use
Richard.
burdock.
Yeah.
You ever
Yeah.
use them?
Two.
Yeah, they
Thank
picked
you,
this
sir.
burdock
No.
She's
we're
chicken
not
fried
running
good.
now.
and they dry.
Yeah.
And then when they put them on, they put them in boiling water and that activated. And they put them on there.
Hey, we can-
Band-aided up.
Yeah.
I'll be going to work. Junk.
I gotta be there.
Come 6:30.
Get in this
He
car.
put that on
I
yesterday,
wanna come
last
by.
night. He said I got to change
I
it.
got a
Yeah.
little
They changed it to this morning.
Well.
They might change the canvas new.
He did a good job for it.
Tonight I got to change it again.
Everywhere on there.
He didn't fix me up with
They were
some.
talking about it until they lost.
Oh, okay. That helps.
It's where we are.
So I was Gary.
I've been laying around the house. But he'll probably try that.
Huh? Yeah.
Lazy, but.
Oh, yeah?
He made a bunch of them.
See you again,
I'm gonna be right back, I gotta grab a napkin.
I don't like it.
Richard got one.
What do I got?
Brad, Brad,
Yeah.
yeah. So you're going steady with Brad now? Is that what's going on?
Richard, don't be telling our secrets.
Richard's going steady, John.
But I better watch who I sit by.
Troy, I want to sit next to Brad.
He don't scare me.
You know.
We can change that.
I've never met this guy's
I'd rather we
daughter
didn't, but
before. I met his wife. He
How's
just-
John?
He ran around a little bit and really super nice people. Really, really nice.
Yeah, they got those jerseys on sale for $40 on Fanatics.
Something that he
Shohei Ohtani jerseys.
He keeps calling me last night, make sure I got home okay.
I know.
I figured you'd tell me I'm in Warrior.
Well, they switched it to the art.
It's a good thing, right?
It's
Is it
the
official
original
jersey
jersey,
too?
It's the best one you can get. Well, not the best one you can get, it's the most reasonable one you can get for the
You
price.
know, I just let him go, and I
$40.
was telling my wife that, and
Why is it
she
so
wanted,
cheap?
remember, she
Cause it's
used to
Christmas
go.
probably.
And you know that money
She
they're
said,
paying,
"Probably is."
indirectly, we're paying for that.
I said,
Oh, yeah.
TV contracts are so damn high.
You just missed it.
Everything that advertises you buy, we're paying.
Yep.
you just misplaced it, you know.
Oh, that's cute.
You're gonna ruin
Hey.
college.
It's gonna really, really change.
I stayed-
I mean, even more
I
than
don't
it
understand
has.
this whole portal thing or whatever, you know, I
Hi,
don't.
Steve. How you doing?
If you don't play somewhere,
Right.
if you go to college somewhere, you don't get play.
Still hanging on.
Yeah,
Play
kick
somewhere
your
else.
ass in Kim Line.
Called for snow for
You
you.
get a full ride.
Hi, Greg.
I've been out there for
How you doing?
I would imagine.
It's funny, but I don't know.
after a few, I think so many streets.
Hi, Steve.
Huge
Yeah,
town.
it's a bike trail. I've had it.
But the way the land is, just so much different. And it's like rolling hills, not quite hills. Huh? Yeah, whatever, and so they got a farm in place, and they farm it different because you're out on these roads, you know, and this way, kind of like make it up.
I'm done.
Yeah, yeah, and it's small, little small field, all, of them farms, and then they, Council Bluffs, I went out there, Tuesday morning, and I was, a friend of mine's wife died.
That's all TV.
But,
Yeah, imagine making through that.
all kind of rallies, like in the end, boys, it doesn't, geez, my wife, she said, I couldn't live.
I was in the hospital.
She's a
In basketball, it used to be just Duke, Michigan State, Kentucky. They were the ones that had to worry about.
She might have, she was in Greenville. She got good luck around the world.
Yeah, Kentucky was Duke, and I
I
don't
didn't
follow
even know
basketball,
that.
but you're right, I remember those names.
I'm tired.
Well, because they get, they get their guys in and they do 1 or 2 years and we
I
don't.
don't care if you go to sleep now, they just gotta rest.
Oh, we should have stopped and got Gary.
Oh, thank you. I ain't even gotten started.
Doing all right. How are you? Still trying to get over. No.
You look like you got that kid.
Glad you're here, Steve.
Yeah. Good day there. Yeah. Well, hi, Steve. Hey, Steve.
How are you? And then I talked to him, got this secretary now. Last week, but they got sick. And then he called me back, he said, we'll be there this week, so we're supposed to come. I told him, she was coming this week. He said, she'll go.
About the same. Yeah.
He said, I don't know, he said.
Still working with Jason? No, I went to work at Teeman. Oh, did you?
She didn't say anything about it.
Yeah.
I am
But
so.
he knew the church.
Well,
I told him to go in the back. Yeah, he said, I'm familiar.
Yeah. I think that's good. Yeah. I was supposed to start Monday, so.
Downstairs,
Well,
I said,
work out.
Man, I just said, I understand.
Boy, we had a big Christmas dinner today. Got off early.
I'll send you a couple money back.
That's nice. Nice. That is one nice thing about it. It's working for the right company. It's a good. That's right. I worked for Marathon. Every year they used to throw a Christmas main building in Finland. Put out a big spread. One son's been there 9 years, and the other one's been there
He texted me also that same,
I left it for them.
oh, good, there's all. Yeah, I figured.
I had five.
You said you could get them.
I'll make them all.
Sometimes I'll have to find
Right bank for 40 years.
Is that Tuesday?
I can get them. Cars I want to do for myself.
What time to start?
They don't want to do it, they just want to do it kind of.
Yeah, whatever you think, 4:30, pick Charlie up.
You see, $3,000, last person.
Leave Charlie at home.
They screwed us. I'm thinking maybe next spring, next summer I might.
You know, you've heard Eldora Speedway.
Oh,
On the south of Eldora, about
expensive.
2-3 miles.
Depends on what color.
You down there?
I heard red's the most expensive.
Yeah.
Gold.
There's chicken houses all over the place.
Yeah,
All
but
around.
then he was one of the pavement.
Yeah, that's about 3-4 miles. Or,
Somebody today,
yeah,
it's probably been close to 8 years ago.
Yeah.
Charlie,
When they was building.
Man and day.
Charlie's well went dry.
Changed colors and everything. He had $5,000 in his
Charlie,
truck.
how many people's wells went dry in
He
the
he's
West?
Tahoe, painted inside door jam, painted big 24-inch wheels.
So what are they gonna do? Build it?
Ain't cheap to drill well nowadays.
Well, I
That
wouldn't
didn't
think so.
include the clear.
It ain't even cheap to hire a carpenter.
Yeah, I don't plan on putting that much money in mine.
No, well, of course not.
No, it
I
ain't.
got a quote from Chapman's one a couple of years ago
They
to
won't
do everything I wanted done. And they wanted like $50,000. And I said, look, it's a 2005. $3,000 They don't want to do small companies. They want to do insurance.
2 weeks worth of work.
Insurance company
Does that count, does that count the materials?
is stuff,
We say spray on these every year.
and then you get more time.
You gotta do your homework.
32 hours. Take that.
Right, yeah, can you imagine that?
The state,
$52 to $55 an hour. Body.
Who does? Oh. Do what?
I got a couple guys, and I talked to them here.
No, he won't pitch it.
I think I could probably get most of them.
Why won't he pitch this year?
Yeah, I know.
He got that much money, he's got junk arm?
I put them in a field deal on the red, because I got a party tree free, but it's in good shape.
Again,
You know, it doesn't need
I've
any
been
bottom.
fortunate, I've been,
I don't think so.
I just did that deal on my car.
And then I got a couple of spots
I
around.
anyway.
No, you were talking about it Saturday night, yeah. I feel like I did okay on that, where they paid their, what they assigned. One time in my room, remember when we had that real big house? I don't know if you guys had that, that's been 2 years back.
Body map.
I had a second base, and I had a huge limb fall through the middle of my house.
You got more out
Nobody
there.
else told me there. I got there 3 roots on my house. Nothing.
I watched that first game he played, the second game, he looked like he had any rust at all.
But I know what you're saying. Some of them can't get it out here.
Well, that's one.
They're your
That's what you get with a good athlete.
Probably had run.
He's a bowler too, I heard.
Yeah.
Mookie Betts is a bowler.
I just wanted to look somewhat nice.
Richard, we got 2 slip ups for port recovery here for that Dr. Bob's house.
For Fort Recovery?
Yeah, we got 2, 4, we got 7 people from Fort Recovery on.
I don't have anybody in ministry yet.
Yeah, well. Hey,
Billy.
Has anybody checked on bands or anything yet? I haven't checked.
no, we'll check on that. And I gave a lead from Fort Wayne. He has a couple of friends that's on the board of directors for Dr. Bob, but I'm gonna get a hold of him.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so we might be able to set us up something.
Yeah, that'd be good.
All right, it's 7:30. All's well. I'm Gary, I'm an alcoholic. I'd like to welcome everyone here to the Friday night group of Alcoholics Anonymous. Those who wish to open the meeting with serenity prayer. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Alcoholics Anonymous is a fellowship of men and women who share their experience, strength, and hope with each other, that they may solve their common problem and help others to recover from alcoholism. The only requirement for membership is a desire to stop drinking. There are no dues or fees for AA membership. We are self-supporting for their own contribution. AA is not allied with any sect, denomination, politics, organization, or institution. It does not wish to engage in any controversy, neither endorses nor opposes any causes. Our primary purpose is to stay sober and help other alcoholics achieve sobriety. I'll ask the president to read how it works.
I'm a registered alcoholic. How it works. Rarely have we seen a person fail but thoroughly follow their path. Those who do not recover are people who cannot or will not completely give themselves to the simple program. Usually men and women who are constitutionally incapable of being honest with themselves. There are such unfortunates. They are not at fault. They seem to have been born that way. They're naturally incapable of grasping and developing a manner of living which demands rigorous honesty. Their chances are less than average. There are those too who suffer from grave emotional and mental disorders. Many of them do recover if they have the capacity to be honest. Our stories disclose in a general way what we used to be like, what happened, and what we are like now. If you have decided you want what we have and are willing to do anything to get it, then you're ready to take certain steps. And some of these we balked. We thought we could find an easier, softer way, but we cannot. With all the earnestness in our command, we beg of you to be fearless and thorough from the very start. Some of us have tried to hold on to our old ideas, and the result was nil until we let go absolutely. Remember that we do with alcohol, cunning, baffling, powerful. Without help, it is too much for us. There is one who has all power. That one is God. May you find him now. Have measures above us nothing. We stood at the turning point. We asked for protection and care with complete abandon. Here are the steps we took which are suggested as a program of recovery. 1, we admitted we were powerless over alcohol, that our lives had become unmanageable. 2, came to believe the power greater than ourselves to restore sanity. 3, made a decision to turn our will and our lives over to the care of God as we understood him. 4, made a searching and fearless moral inventory of ourselves. 5, admitted to God, to ourselves, and to another human being the exact nature of our wrongs. 6, we're entirely ready to have God remove all these defects of character. 7, humbly asked him to remove our shortcomings. 8, made lists of all persons we had harmed and became willing to commend them all. 9, made direct amends to such people wherever possible, except when to do so would injure them or others. 10, continued to take personal inventory. When we were wrong, promptly admitted it. 11, self-through prayer and meditation to improve our conscious contact with God as we understood him, praying only for knowledge of his will for us and the power to carry that out. 12, having had a spiritual awakening as the result of these steps, we try to carry this message to alcoholics and to practice these principles in all our affairs. Many of us exclaim, well, in order, I can't go through with it. Do not be discouraged. No one among us has been able to maintain anything like perfect adherence to these principles. We are not saints. The point is that we are willing to grow along spiritual lines. The principles we have set down are guides to progress. We claim spiritual progress rather than spiritual perfection. Our description of the alcoholic, the chapter to the agnostic, our personal adventures before and after make clear 3 pertinent ideas. A, that we are alcoholic and cannot manage our own lives. B, that probably no human power could have relieved our alcoholism. C, that God could and would if we were soft.
Thank you. Richard, we asked Billy to read the 12 traditions.
My name is Billy, recovery.
Billy.
12 traditions of Alcoholics Anonymous. Number 1, our common welfare should come first. Personal recovery depends upon AA unity. Number 2, for our group purpose there is but one ultimate authority, a loving God who may express himself in our group science. Our leaders are the trusted servants, they do not govern. Number 3, the only requirement for AA membership is a desire to stop drinking. Number 4, each group should be autonomous except in matters affecting other groups or AA as a whole. Number 5, each group has but one primary purpose, to carry his message to the alcoholic who still suffers. Number 6, an AA group ought never endorse, finance, or lend the AA name to any related facility or outside enterprise, lest the problems of money, property, and prestige diverge from our primary purpose. Number 7, every AA group ought to be fully self-supporting, declining outside contributions. Number 8, Alcoholics Anonymous should remain forever non-professional, but our service centers may employ special workers. Number 9, AA as such ought never be organized, but we may create service boards or committees directly responsible for those they serve. Number 10, Alcoholics Anonymous has no opinion on outside issues, hence the AA name ought never be drawn into public controversy. Number 11, our public relations policy is based on attraction rather than promotion. We need to always maintain personal anonymity at the level of press, radio, and films. Number 12, anonymity is the spiritual foundation of all our traditions, ever reminding us to play principle before personality.
Thank you, Billy. I've asked Tom to read the promises.
Tom, alcoholic.
Tom.
Use the promise. The spiritual life is not a theory, we have to live it. Unless one's family expresses a desire to live upon spiritual principles, we think we ought not to urge them. We should not talk incessantly to them about spiritual matters. They will change in time. Our behavior will convince them more than our words. We must remember that 10 or 20 years of drunkenness would make a skeptic out of anyone. There may be some wrongs we can never fully right. We don't worry about them if we can honestly say to ourselves that we would right them if we could. Some people cannot be seen. We send them an honest letter. And there may be some valid reason for postponement in some cases, but we don't delay if it can be avoided. We should be sensible, tactful, considerate, and humble without being servile or scrapeful. As God's people, we stand on our feet. We don't crawl before Him. If we are painstaking about this phase of our development, we'll be amazed before we're halfway through. We're going to know a new freedom and new happiness. We will not regret the past. We will not regret the past, nor wish to shut the door on it. We will comprehend the word serenity, and we will know peace. No matter how far down the scale we've gone, we will see our experience can benefit others. That feeling of uselessness and self-pity will disappear. We will lose interest in selfish things and gain interest in our fellows. Self-seeking will slip away. Our whole attitude and outlook upon life will change. Fear of people and of economic insecurity will leave us. We will suddenly realize that God is doing for us what we cannot do for ourselves. Are these extravagant promises?
Thank God.
They are being fulfilled among us, sometimes quickly, sometimes slowly. They will always materialize
Thank you.
if you work for them.
Thanks, Tom.
Did I give anybody the reflections? Steve? Steve, you want to do it?
Yeah.
All right.
December 15th, do anything to help. Offer him, the alcoholic, friendship and fellowship. Tell him that if he wants to get well, you will do anything to help. Alcoholics Anonymous, page 95. I remember how attracted I was to the two men from AA who 12th stepped me. They said I could have what they had with no conditions attached, that all I had to do was make my own decision to join them on the pathway to recovery. When I start convincing a newcomer to do things my way, I forget how helpful those two men were to me in their open-minded generosity. That's it.
Thank you, Steve. My friend Andrew to read the 24-hour book.
I'm Andrew, recovering alcoholic.
Hey, Andrew.
Thought for the day. Service to others makes the world a good place. Civilization would cease if all of us were always and only for ourselves. We alcoholics have a wonderful opportunity to contribute to the well-being of the world. We have a common problem. We find a common answer. we are unequally equipped to help others with the same problem. What a wonderful world it would be if we took our own latest problems and found the answer to it and spent the rest of our lives healing others with the same problem. In our spare time, soon we would have the right kind of a world. Do I appreciate my unequal opportunity to be of service? Meditation for the day. Today can be lived in the consequences of God's contact, upholding you in all good things, words and deeds. If something there seems to be a shadow on your life and you feel out of sort, remember that this is not the withdrawal of God's presence, but only your own temporary unwillingness to realize it. The quite gray days are the days for doing what you must do. But know that the consciousness of God's nearness will return and be with you again when the gray days are past. Prayer for this. I pray that I may face the dual days with courage. I pray that I may have faith that the bright days will return.
Thank you, Andrew. Here in Coldwater, we have the token system. I've asked my friend Brad to give out tokens.
Hi everybody, I'm Brad, I'm an alcoholic.
Hey, Brad.
Here at the Coldwater Friday night meeting, we hand out tokens for different lengths of sobriety, and we start the tokens like it's suggested that we book the program. We have to start with a 24-hour token. Is there anyone here that needs a 24-hour token? 1 to 3 months, 6 to 9, 10 to a year. We do have an 18-month token. 2 to 10, 11 to 15, 16 to 20, 21 to 34.
Come on, Brad.
Anybody have any time they'd like to have recognized?
Yeah, I got 35 last Wednesday. I'll give you a gold one for that.
We all have today. Give yourself a higher card.
Thank you, Brad. As far as announcements, we still have this slip up here. Anybody's interested in going to Dr. Bob's house, we're trying to get it in April. We still haven't had everything set up yet, but we're going to see what we can do. So just put your name on. We'll leave this list open. We'll leave it up here if anybody wants to sign their name in. Also, this Tuesday we have the Sydney sauerkraut thing. Starts at 6 o'clock. Starts at 6, eat at 6:30, leaves at 7:30. Let's bring a covered dish. It's at the Poplar Street in Sydney at the Saturday morning meeting place. All right.
Yeah, the detail, the 230 East Poplar, you can put in your GPS.
Right. And, yep. And, Fort Recovery's having a New Year's, thing. We're gonna have the regular meeting, after the meeting's over with, we're gonna have a, celebration, New Year's celebration, so keep that in mind. Any other announcements?
Just to add to the Fort Recovery, yeah, I understand that there's a small home group, but one of the ones in that home group that's going to make this a fun night is Joni. So this will be a production by Joni and all it entails, so it'll be a good time.
Thanks, Wes.
Thanks, Wes.
Thank you, Wes. All right, there are the announcements. All right, tonight, the person that got his token tonight, I've asked him to give the lead. He's been a good friend. We've been in a lot of meetings together over the years, and we've stayed sober one day at a time. And without further ado, I'll give my friend Leo from Ansonia.
Okay. Favorite part of the program right here. Well, that's right, you're not supposed to lie, are you?
And Leo, make sure that podium don't walk off there.
Yeah, yeah. Hello everyone, my name's Leo, I'm an alcoholic. Saturday, well, it's winter time and a lot of times I don't do a whole lot of things. Me and Gary and Charlie and whoever, we go to meetings, a lot of meetings in the winter, I do anyway. And we was over Decatur last Saturday. Well, these guys are, and this has happened to me and Gary many times when we go up there. They don't have a lead, and then they ask one of us to talk when we get in there. A lot of times. And so old Joe V hit me up, and I thought, doggone, I know I got to talk again Friday, but they tell you when you come in here, they ask you to do something, you do it, and I believe I've always done that, and the benefits have been great, and so, I can remember there was a day when I could not put the bottle down, and so AA asked me to do something, I do it, and so Brad and Charlie, you guys can fall asleep, or whatever, but I guess I won't be able to lie. A lot of you have heard me before. Everybody knows how this goes, unless you're a newcomer. You say what it was like, what happened, and what it's like today. And born in a family that had 7 brothers and sisters. I made 8. I was the oldest. Mom and Dad was German Catholic. Spare the rod, spare the child. My mother believed in that wholeheartedly, which is, it's okay, but there is a limit. And good Catholic. We had to go to church every day, or not every day. I mean, we had to go to church all the time. And if you didn't go to church, you didn't live in that home. Had it forced down my throat, so to speak. I better be careful. I'm in the Catholic Church. And but anyway, I mean, it was okay. I was believe it or not, I was a server boy. I'd go in there hungover, and the priest would look at me and he'd say, "You going to make it through this mass?" Because I wasn't feeling too good at some time. You put them robes on, you got your clothes underneath, you get pretty hot up there. And he used to raise hell with me all the time. But that's another story in itself. I needed hell raised with me. We had a farm. Mom and Dad taught us all how to work. I don't have no problem with that. But it, like I said, it got crazier than hell around there. Me and Mom, we butted heads big time. And all she ever wanted to do was make sure I did the right thing. And she was not going to quit. And I was not going to let it happen. So we bucked each other all the time. And I can remember, I bring this up all the time, and then didn't even realize that it had a hell of a lot to do with being self-centered. She said, Leo, behave. She said, you got these kids, you got to show a good example for. Well, I never ever did like that part, because that meant I had to behave. I wanted no part of behaving. And it was no different if I was, and I'm still that way today a lot of times. If I'm told I can't do something, or not allowed to do something, what do you think I want to do? And I'm that way. Nothing like it was, but I was really self-centered then. And I learned at an early age how to manipulate and get my own way. And I think I don't know, maybe that's a trait we learned, or I'm born with it, I don't know. But like I said, me and Mom butted heads pretty bad, but I used to get up here and tell you about how mean she was, which she was a dandy. I think today she'd be thrown in jail. But my three sisters, after they left the house, they didn't have any more to do with her. And us boys had to take care of her. I got four brothers, and she got cancer, breast cancer, and none of the girls come around to see her. Ain't that something? And whatever. I never got involved in it. That's I don't. Us boys, we could get out of the house. We had a 80-acre farm. We had a real nice woods, and we'd get the hell out of there. And but the girls couldn't. But it was one thing I have to remember, and I've said this after I look at things and think about things. She was doing the best she could, and she was raising me the way she was taught, the way she was raised. And you find out you'll do the same thing when you raise your children if you ain't careful, and if it's a bad way to be. But anyway, and I wouldn't want her to raise me either. I know I was a handful, and I wasn't going to listen, and I was going to get my way one way or another. I was that way from the word get-go, and she never give up, because that was her job. That was her job, and because that's how she was preached to. And the same way of going to church and doing all that. And I'm not a very big church goer, and boy, she'd be on me about that. She never quit on that department. But that's between me and God. But it was and so I come to terms with all that, and it's over with. But I tell you, I'm not whining about that or anything. She never forced the bottle down my throat or anything like that. But the reason I tell you about it is because I got this one guy at school, and he comes up to me and he said, "Hey," he said, "have you ever been drinking?" Mom and Dad, they drank, but it never got out of hand. And there was always beer in the house. Well, Catholic family, German Catholics, hey, that's. I can always remember when we'd get together with her mom's side, they'd all get so drunked up, and then everybody'd be fighting when they'd go home, but that was all the time. But anyway, that was something else. There was always, there wasn't, and I could bring, after I was so old, I could bring beer home, and I didn't even have to be 18, and it was never, it was allowed at home, but I can, you know, this guy, we went to, you know, I remember my first drunk, and this guy, I went with him, and all that, I was telling you about all that crazy shit at home, and that's, excuse my language, but it was getting to me. And it all left when I started drinking beer. It all left. I didn't care no more. It didn't bother me any. And I've heard it said before, and I got to think about it. I was the same way. I believe I drank alcoholically from the start, because I didn't drink just to be drinking, just for the taste of it or anything like that. I never really did care for the taste of beer, but I enjoyed what it did for me, how it made me feel, that euphoria or whatever they say. And I felt that from the word get-go. And I chased that buzz till the time I quit. That feeling that I'm talking about. When I drank after that, that's what I drank for, was for that feeling. Sometimes I'd get it, sometimes I wouldn't. And the longer I drank, the more I didn't. And blackouts from the word get-go. I had blackouts all the time. I just took it with a grain of salt and I knew what it come from, and I didn't realize that it was a good sign of alcoholism. Of course, at that time, it wouldn't have mattered to me. And I've heard people say before, if you was told while you was drinking, or even before you were drinking, what it was going to do to you and how your life was going to be, do you think you still wouldn't drink? What do you think? I know I would have drank still, because I was indestructible. I wasn't. You couldn't. You know, nothing could hurt. You know, you think you can handle everything, and ain't that the biggest lie we tell ourselves? And I enjoyed drinking. I had a good time. I did what the hell I wanted to and whatever. And there's a couple of the guys in here that I drank with, Charlie and John over there, and we drank a lot of beer together, played a lot of cards, played a lot of pool, shot a lot of bow and arrows, and did all kind of stupid stuff. Smoked some marijuana and crazy. Enjoyed it. And I don't think we ever had a crossword, did we? Of course, I knew better, as strong as you was, but we had a lot of fun. Been good friends forever. And but you know, I like I say, I really enjoyed that fast life. I didn't excel in school. I passed everything, just enough to get by. I enjoyed playing sports. I did okay in football. I had chances to go farther, but I'd already chosen a career. Once I started on that drinking, that's what I was going to do. And I had colleges calling or texting or sending me, texting, they didn't even have that back then, sending me letters, but I'd just throw them in the trash. Dad used to really raise hell about that. And Dad was the only sanity in that household. And me and him got along good. And sometimes I think about the things that I said and did once I started drinking to him, and very ashamed of it. But I know today I've made my amends, and I'm okay with it today. I'm sure he is too. But he died when I was 18 years old. It was a farming accident. Well, I was still living at home then, and then it really got crazy. And but I lived that fast life for a long time, and if you drink long enough, and if you're drink alcoholically, there's the deal. If you drink alcoholically, you'll go through your friends, and I managed to do that to a lot of them. You'll say something you wasn't supposed to, or they just get tired of being around a drunk, and you will find someone else that drinks like you, if you're an alcoholic, and because they're just okay with it because they drink like that. And I did that.
I did that. And eventually you'll go through a lot of friends. And, that, I look back on it today and I've seen that in my life. But I really, really enjoyed that fast life. Some of my friends got married and, I didn't have time for a girlfriend or whatever. Oh, I had your one night stands, but girlfriend just gets in the way, and they're going to try and tell you how to live, and nobody's going to tell me what to do. And I'm not. A lot of this stuff I'll tell you and I bring up, I'm not proud of any of it, but that's how I was. And eventually, like I said, your friends get married, and the younger groups in there and whatever, but I was getting tired of it, I guess. And so I decided to get married. Boy, what a mistake. If you don't quit drinking. You can't mix drinking and marriage. It don't work. And but if you're a drunk, you think you can. And I found this lady and we got married. I'm still married today. Now I've say this sometimes, and I don't know, but I feel like I'm a fortunate alcoholic, if there is such a thing. I've never lost my wife. I never lost a job from drinking, and financially I wasn't in the bestest of shape, but I wasn't, I was okay. And so like I said, I was lucky in that department, I guess. I don't know. Hell, I don't know. But I met this lady. She's clear over in Winchester, Indiana. Nobody around my area I was going to get married to because they knew me. And that's the truth. And because I caused a lot of problems. I love to fight. And that was the alcohol and the group of people we were in with. And I'm proud of any of this stuff. And because by nature I'm really not that way. Press the right buttons, but anyway, it goes. And so I married this lady. She had 2 children. She'd been married before, and then me and her had 2 of her own. And I told her when we got married, I said, "There's 3 things you don't mess with." And this should have been a red light to her right off the bat, but when you're in love, you don't pay no attention. And I said, "Don't mess with my drinking." I imagine that was the first one I told her. "Don't mess with my hunting. I love to go hunting and fishing. And don't mess with football. I love pro football." And she didn't. And for 10 years, but she never messed with it. But in them 10 years, she watched me go down the tubes. She watched me drinking myself to death. And of course, naturally, I didn't look at it that way. Well, she used to drink and party with me. And then, like I said, after a while, she knowed she better pull back. She wasn't no alcoholic like me. And she started working on me about quitting drinking. Well, it got out of hand, or it didn't get out of hand, it just got a little bit heated a lot of times. She'd leave, she'd come back. She'd leave again, pack everything, take the kids, and she'd come back. I don't know how many times she'd done that, but that's something children don't need to go through, and just to be blunt, I put that family through hell. That's all there was to it. And I'll sit up here and tell you that I'd sit up here and tell you I worked 2, 3 jobs all the time, which I did. And but it was to put clothes on the kids' back and feed them. Well, yeah, some of that's true, but I worked like that so I could protect my supply. That's exactly what I did. And we'd go to the grocery store with a little short of money, but when you're raising 4 kids and her ex-husband didn't pay no support, and you're the only one working, we got by. But you don't have a whole lot of extra money. Matter of fact, you don't have much money left over at all, but I always had enough money to protect my supply. I always had enough money to buy booze. Like if I'd go to the grocery store, instead, if we needed a gallon of milk, I'd buy half a gallon and a 6-pack of beer. Of course, that wouldn't go far. I'm sure I bought a 12-pack instead of a 6-pack. But that's how it was. You're going to protect your supply. You're going to make sure you got enough money to get that buzz. And we, you know, we went through the ups and downs and all that, and she was watching me go downhill, down that drunken path. And see, her first husband was an alcoholic. They say that's why she felt comfortable with me. She's used to another person and acts like an alcoholic. And I believe that. I believe that. And, but basically the lady saved my life. And you know, like I said, she'd work on me and work on me and work on me about quitting drinking. And so I said, okay, I'll give this thing a try. And for 2 weeks, I remember this distinctly as heck, I didn't drink, didn't smoke, and I used to grow my own smoke. I had a bunch of it. But anyway, it's what farm boys do. I quit for 2 weeks. But I couldn't quit on my own. And being raised a Catholic, I know to ask God for help. So that's how I was able not to drink. I remember when they call that a dry drunk. And I never want to go through that again. That was hell. I'll drink before I go through that again. And being the cons that we are, I told her I had this thing whooped. You know, I can handle it now. Well, I'm here to say, within a few days, I'm sure all of us have probably tried it, I was right back where I was, you know. And while a lot of this was going on, you heard, I think a lot of us might be this way. I think that I can take care of my own problems. Leave me alone, you know. I can handle this. And I truly felt that way. And but like I said, she was on me and on me and on me. And I knew, I'm not no dummy, I knew all along normal people don't drink like I did. And but to be honest with you, I didn't care what anybody else thought about it. I didn't care what you thought about it. Leave me alone. You don't like the way I drink? See, you know, just stay away from me. And like I said, I'm not proud of any of this stuff, but that's how I was. And I'll never forget this as long as I live. And they tell you not to. They call it the jumping off place. And I remember being there. Because, like I said, I didn't drink in 2 weeks. And I realized I can't quit drinking. And I knew that what the outcome would be if I thought, son of a gun, what do you do? You know, I didn't know anything about AA. The only thing I knew about AA was we made fun of them in the bars. You know, Mom and Dad at 16, 17 years old tried to get me to do something about my drinking, sent me to some counselors. I think it was here in Coldwater somewhere. But naturally I just clammed up. I didn't say anything. But I wasn't educated on what I was going to do about this problem. And I can remember sitting on a dirt pile I had out at my farm, and I just started bawling like a baby. Now, see, men, I don't show my emotions like that very often, but I felt helpless, hopeless, lonely, and I had no answer. I had no answer, and I thought, what am I going to do? You know, And I tussled with that for a long time, and she wasn't going to give up. And I'm out in the barn working, and she says she'd been talking to these people. Well, right now I'm mad because somebody's in my business, and that type of person I was, and I'll put a stop to that crap. And anyway, and I said, "Oh, you have?" I said, "Well, who's this?" And it was Al-Anon. Al-Anon. I didn't know what Al-Anon was, so I didn't know who in the hell I could go to have a little talk to about this stuff. And I thought, Al-Anon? Well, I know today, Al-Anon and her sticking to her guns saved my life, because I know I'd be dead today. Because by the time I went into the treatment center, moved a little ahead, my liver had been damaged, my skin was yellow, I reeked with alcohol. She called one of my really, really good friends while she was going through this, trying to get me to stop. And she said, "Would you talk to Leo about his drinking?" He said, "Are you crazy?" And I didn't know anything about this. He told me about it. And then he did tell me that, me and him worked together all the time. We was both hard. I was hard worker, but heck, I worked hard to keep my job, and so I had money to buy my beer. And but he made the comment that he could just smell the alcohol, sweat coming out of my body. We'd go out at dinner time and get a 6-pack of beer and Hooters and come back in and be blitzed, but I'd have most of my work done already. And one of the reasons probably why I didn't lose my job was the guy that owned the factory. I worked there 40 years. He was a recovery alcoholic himself. They used to let people go home or take people home because they'd had too much to drink. And maybe that's why, I don't know. I'm just very fortunate in that department. But I was with this one friend of mine, and we was deer hunting, and I get this call. Just tell Leo not to come home yet. I'm moving. I'm leaving. So here we go again. Well, this time when I got home, I knew she meant it, because she'd brought it up. She'd talked. Like I said, it had been going on for a while, and I told her. She said, "What can I have?" And I said, "Well, whatever ain't paid for. Just leave here, and you can take the rest, because I'm about to pay for it too anyway." That's this alcoholic thinking. And that's what she done, and I knew she meant it. And so, that just left more time for me to drink, And and things, it went on, and I went to work that week, and nobody was there again. She knew my schedule. She knew what I did at dinner time, so she'd be out there in the parking lot waiting on me. And she'd say, "You go get help." That was a deal. She wanted me to go to a treatment center. I said, "You come home." And this went on all week long. And then she said, it was Friday, she said, "How about coming over and make supper for you?" I said, "Well, okay." And believe it or not, I wasn't eating very good. All I was doing was drinking. And I hadn't seen my kids for a while, for a week. And so I went over there, and I thought, I walked in there, and even though I was that way, it's my job to take care of this family. My job to take care of these kids. My job to make sure they got a warm house. My job to make sure they got food. My job to take care of them. Well, when I went in that house and I seen how they was living, I couldn't hardly take it. They wasn't living terrible or anything like that, but it was nothing, way I thought it should be, let's just say. it was in, well, it was in the middle of winter like this, naturally. And their mom and dad was remodeling a house in Winchester. That's where, you know, her parents were from. And real tall ceilings. They had them kerosens they was heating it with. Didn't have a refrigerator. They had coolers, because that's something she didn't take with her. You know, and I looked at all this and I said, oh my God, look what I've done. That was a hard pill to swallow. But you know, they was happy. And I couldn't understand that. I know today why. It's because the old drunk wasn't there. That's why. That's why. You know, and we spent the weekend together, and kept on me about going in the treatment center and getting help. And I looked at it as jail. And I'd been in jail, and I didn't care for nothing about it. Charlie says, oh, it wasn't that bad. I was in cold water. Oh, that bullshit. I don't want to get locked up. This whole country boy don't want to be locked. I don't care who's in there. I don't want nothing to do with it. I lose my freedom. I'm not very good. And that's how I looked at it. And I said, no. And I bucked her clear to the end, you know, and I left. And you know, I look back on it today, and I had to get this last drunk in. I guess that's what it was. And my tolerance level was real low by that point. And where they say, you know, I never really could handle a lot of booze anyway. And but it, like I said, it was getting to where it didn't take a whole lot anymore to get me liquored up. And they say that's how alcoholism works. Your tolerance level will start going down. And so, and I met this friend of mine at the bar that I went to. I went to the wagon, what is that called? The Wagon Wheel? Yeah, there in Burgettsville. And me and him drank a lot together, had a lot of fun with him. And his family had left him because of drinking. And I was telling him what was going on in my life, and I didn't speak very highly of her. And he knew what was going on. She's good friends of us. He's good friends of ours. He knew what was going on, and he looks at me, and he said, you dumb SOB. Get your butt back there. He said, you want to end up like me? You know, and just in certain words. I know he put it a different way than that, you know, barroom talk. But, you know, I guess that's what I wanted to hear. I don't know. So I went back, and I told her, I said, okay, I'm ready. And I'll never forget the little voice. My youngest two girls were 5 and 7. And and when I told my wife that I was ready to go get help, she said, Daddy's ready to get help. And I remember her saying that at 4 to 5 years old, you know, and that still sticks in my mind. And you know, that woman had that number memorized of the treatment center. It didn't take her long to get hold of them, didn't take her long to get me an appointment to get me in. But I had to wait 3 days. And them was 3 days of, I felt like a mule standing on one end, somebody with a rope pulling me. I did not want no part of this shit. I did not want to go into no building and be locked up for 28 days. But I said I'd do it, and I had a guy come down and do a 12-step call on me. And he said, and I told him, you know, I said, yeah, I know I drink too much. But like I said, that self-centeredness, I didn't care what you thought. And see, I worked all the time. That was my right. I was allowed to drink like that. I worked for it. That's how I thought. This alcoholic thinking, man, it's something else. I don't go up here alone. I learned that in this program. We don't think like normal people. They say we're a quart low. I believe it. I believe it. Especially when I first met you guys. I don't mean it personally, but I went in there, you know, and I can remember I was worried about losing my friends. I called them up, said I don't want to lose your friendship. I heard you lose it when you get sobered up and blah, blah, blah. Well, you know, we all know what, you know, eventually you just, the counselor told me, he says, you'll realize that you no longer have anything in common. And that's true. That's very true. And, because I don't care to be around a sloshy drunk no more. And I was that a lot. I was that way a lot. And I went in there and I didn't like you people. I didn't want nothing to do with you. I didn't want to hear about your problems. I didn't want to hear that shit. And I'm just telling you the truth. I don't mean any of that personally to anybody in here, but that's how I thought about this deal. And I went in there and I was in a fog. I'd drank so much, they'd give you material to read and whatnot, and I could read, but I couldn't retain it. And I wouldn't remember. I was that way for a long time. Long time. I'll never forget that. And they educate some of you. There's a lot of them that didn't go to treatment centers, and that's fine. Whatever works, works. You know, come to AA. You know, but you wouldn't have gotten me to come in here if I wouldn't have went to a treatment center. I truly, truly believe that. This treatment center planted a seed, so to speak, and you know, I had no plans on quitting drinking when I went in there. I just wanted her ass off my back and see if we can get something done. Get the con. I was still working the con, just trying to figure something out to get out of this mess I was in. And something happened. They educate you in there. They go through a lot of them in there on drugs and whatnot. And then there's some drinkers. And when they had the classes on drinking, they got my attention. They had a blackboard about like that, maybe not quite as big, and they had it wrote your characteristics of an alcoholic. I wished I'd have wrote it down or still had it today. I can't remember exactly what all it was. Some of it's, like I said, you protect your supply. When you're at work working, you think about when you get off work getting that drink. Oh, yeah, I thought about that all the time. Yeah, because I went straight to the bar. I'd drink whatever I needed and then bring me a 12-pack, go home, and sometimes I'd finish a job or just keep on going. And, I mean, they had me to a T up there. I mean, it was me. The way I felt, the way I thought, the things I did. And I thought, God damn, maybe there's something to this thing. And at first I thought, she called them. She told them. And then, you know, I know better than that now today. But that's how, like I said, I don't go up here alone. And that's that alcoholic thinking. And they got my attention. And then on the weekends, and I love my family. I love them to death. That's one reason why I went in there, because I couldn't stand losing them. I couldn't handle that. Couldn't handle it. And they'd bring my daughters, stepchildren in, and then that was nice to see them. But then again, too, when they left, it was terrible the way you felt. And the counselors would be there, and they'd say some things, and they're smart. They know how to push buttons. And one thing that really, really got me was my oldest daughter, and I didn't mean to embarrass these kids. I didn't mean to do what I did, but I'm alcoholic. Everything I touch when I'm drinking and I'm alcoholic, I'll destroy. I'll destroy relationships, friends, I'll wreck cars, it's just the things that alcoholics do. And my 7-year-old daughter, and like I said, I didn't even recognize that I did this stuff. And, she said, the kids couldn't bring friends over because of me being a drunk. They never knew how I was gonna be. And my daughter, she said, like I said, he was asking her, I forget the question and how it all went, but anyway, her answer was, well, I told, she wanted to have a friend over, and she said, I told Mom, I'll pay attention, I'll look out the kitchen window, and I'll see what kind of mood Dad's in. And if he's in a bad mood, I'll make sure me and my friend goes upstairs, and if he's in a good mood, I'll just leave him downstairs, and it'll be okay. And I thought, oh my God. That about did it. I thought, a little kid like that. And I thought, how in the hell could I be like this? And I've heard people say, oh, they seen a bright light or whatever, or I don't know. Everybody's got their own. I can't sit here and tell you why I decided to quit drinking. I don't have a clue. I know where it all come from, my higher power. He put people in my life to have this to happen. They had two guys come up there from the Fort Recovery meeting. He sat in there, and I was my same old stupid self. And he looks at me. The one of them looked at me and says, "I can tell how you're going to be." And he said, "You're not going to ask for help." And he said, "You need to learn to ask for help in this program." And he said, "Or you ain't going to make it." And I thought, oh, bullshit. Well, anyway, but he's right. I had to learn how to ask for help in here. That's something I never thought I'd ever do. And I remember going to my first AA meeting. They let us go to AA in there. And I seen it. And I can't sit here and tell you what it was, but I seen it in their eyes. We went to an AA meeting down in Dayton. I sobered up at a place called Good Sam. It ain't open no more. They don't have a whole lot of treatment centers anymore. And I seen it in their eyes, peace and serenity. That's what I seen. I didn't realize it at the time, but I knew I wanted it. That's weird. And I knew I wanted it. And I heard less than 1 out of 10 make it. And I decided I was going to be that one. Nobody's going to, they told me to read the big book, and I read the big book. I watched these guys get out of there. I told you I hated to be locked up. I didn't like being in there. And I thought, well, God dang, maybe it's because of the stupid mind, alcoholic mind thinking, because they're doing a good job, but they give us studies and stuff to do. So I thought, well, I'll work hard on it too. Well, all that did was help me get educated on this program. The only reason they got let go, it wasn't because they did a good job, it's because they didn't have good insurance. They wasn't going to get their money. I had good insurance. I wasn't going nowhere. I learned that one, but that's okay. Worked out okay. And I bring this up a lot because I still struggle with it a little bit today. The counselor said, or somebody, I don't know where, I can't remember where it all come from or where I heard it first. They said they're grateful to become a recovering alcoholic. That pissed me off because I was, and I still am, so ashamed of the way I was, the things I did, how I treated people. So ashamed. And I am not grateful for any of that. Now that's how I looked at it. And I know what they mean today, but then again too, there's a lot of pain and misery there before I sobered up. And I caused it all. Me and the counselor went around and around pretty hot and heavy about that. And I can remember talking to him about, well, what's people going to say? And Gary says it the best. Rarely do. What do I care what people think? Rarely do they. He's right. and he's right. And so the last day in there, really decent counselor, I really liked her. I enjoyed people that knows today and then. You got knowledge, I'll pay attention. And she gets up there, and I looked at her and I told her, I said, you don't understand. It's not like this out there. You're in there, you're in a protected environment, you ain't got no booze, whatever, you know, and you know, and she just looked at me and she said, yes it is, Leo. She said, it's in here. I thought, it's in here? What are you talking about, it's in here? I understand today, this is an inside job. It's how you look at life, how you let life bother you, and how you handle it. That's where your peace of mind comes from in this program, in the steps. And you know, I got out and I didn't know. I look back a lot of times. I was full of anger, and I hated that lady because she'd made me quit drinking. I'm talking about my wife. She took my best friend away, and I hated her for a long time after that. You know, eventually that subsided. I think a lot of that comes with age, and maybe you wise up and realize you needed to quit drinking. But at that time, I didn't look at it that way. And I remember my brother saying, there's no way he'll quit, you know. Dad said I was going to be dead before I was 18 years of age. I God dang near proved him right. And because I had all kind of wrecked cars all the time. I'd hit telephone poles, we'd hit trees. And I can't sit here and tell you how many wrecks I was in. I was in a bunch of them. And I was always so drunked up that, you know, you don't get hurt because you're real flexible and somebody wanted me to live. That's all there is to it. And, you know, I got out and they said go to so many meetings and 90 meetings, 90 days or whatever. But basically, I just went. I know I went every day for a good year. I just went. And I was big time on bring the body and the mind will show up because I didn't have a clue about how any of this worked. I'm learning stuff. You still learn stuff. You're never done learning. It's like I say, it's a school of life. But I went to Greenville. That's where I started going at first. I didn't know where to go. And that friend of mine that sent me to AA, I wasn't getting anything out of it down there. And he said they got really good AA up north. Well, they do. Yeah, where at? And he told me, and I said, okay, I'll try it. And I went in there, went up to this meeting, and like I said, I didn't know nobody. Gary was there. And I forgot Beaner was too. Was there when I got there. Only 2 still around. Some of them have died. A lot of them went back out. But Gary's still here. I've been hanging on his shirt tails ever since. And those of you who know him, you know he's good AA. And like Gary said, we go to a lot of meetings. Been to prisons. Take the message in there, and we go all over. We go to a mini conference. Me and Brad and Charlie goes, and sometimes Dwayne goes, Rindler, and we have a lot of fun. We cut up, have a lot of laughs. Me and Charlie, we go back and forth quite a bit, just horsing around, and we have a lot of fun. But you know, I didn't think I'd have any fun when I quit drinking. I didn't know how I was going to go to sleep at night. I didn't know how I was going. When I worked, I always had a beer with me. That gets to be a part of your life, you know. I had to learn how to do everything all over again. And I'm not going to sit here and tell you it was easy. I can remember I welded at that time at the factory that I worked at. And I can remember saying that serenity prayer over and over and over, and I wanted to drink so bad. And like I said, I kept, and I had all kind of support. The wife is always. Matter of fact, she could see the change, and she could see what happens when I go to meetings. And sometimes, well, I used to help these farmers. This one farmer and my brother, I'd help him, and he had we had like 10,000 acres. Well, back in them days, it took a while to do all that. I'd be in the fields 2 months in the spring and a month and a half, or close to that again in the fall. And but so I didn't get to a lot of meetings at that time, and the isms would come back. I've learned over the years, and I'm no different than anybody else. And she'd write a note on the table, "You need a meeting," and I'd write a note back on the table, "You need Al-Anon." But just that's what husbands and wives do. You spit and spat. But she used Al-Anon to get me in here, and she don't mess with it anymore. I feel sorry for her sometimes because she's never really learned how to deal with my isms, so to speak. I don't understand all of what Al-Anon does, but I know they're really good for people who live with an alcoholic. I know that. I've seen it. But whatever, and we like I said, we've been married 43 years. Lucky, I always tell her, "You lucky girl." And she goes, "Yeah, right." But whatever. And what time is it? I ain't got a clock.
8:36.
Oh, it's time to quit. Okay. But anyway, things went well. Yeah, I didn't know I get to rambling sometimes.
I think we stay a long time.
Yeah. But it's a challenge, buddy. There's only one thing you got to change. That's everything. You got to change everything. I made a 180-degree turnaround compared to what I had. And sometimes she'll bring up some things. And but see, I heard a guy say, a guy down in Louisville, Kentucky, Burns B., an alcoholic lives with something, you'll make them neurotic. And so she still thinks sometimes, they learn how to try not to get you flared up, so to speak. And she'll say, "Well, I thought that'd make you, and that would make you mad, And sometimes I'll have to look at her and I'll say, "Listen, I'm not that guy no more." And then she'll settle down, The things that we put our loved ones through, and the hardest thing for me to do was to bring this program home. That's the deal, man. It's got to be every part of your life, but you got to learn to bring it home. That's hard to do. That was really hard, because that meant I didn't have control no more. I didn't realize it at that time, but that's exactly what that means. And that third step prayer, I'd say that, and I'd say that, and I'd say that, and and I just, but and eventually it started, because after, I don't know, it'd been a span of a few years, I hadn't been drinking or anything, and she was going to leave again. Because all I'd done is stick the plug in the jug. I never changed who Leo was. That was hard. And because I still wanted things my way. And if I didn't get them my way, I told you I was manipulative, and I learned how to get my way. And that's not the way to be. And so, it's just you got to work the steps. I did all that. got me a sponsor. I've been through about 2 or 3 of them. You've been in here long. I come in here at 33 and I'm 69 now. So I've been in here a few years, and you be in here that long, unless you pick a sponsor that's real young, they're gonna die on you. That's always hard. That's always hard. I've had about three of them die on me. That one was Bill Travell, Gene Yance, Bill Patton. That old Gene Yance, he was something else, but they helped me out a lot. And Mike Hoser, that's right, I think he's still alive, but he don't come to AA much anymore. You gotta learn a balance. You got a family. You gotta spend time with your family. That's what I sobered up for. And I sobered up for me, but I mean, that was one of the reasons. And you know, I always end it with, I heard on a CD one time where a guy, they told him, if you wrote down on a piece of paper what you expected, I'd have shortchanged myself big time, big time. I love my family, love my grandkids. I never dreamed how much I'd enjoy that. We go fishing and hunting together. They play sports. I enjoy watching them go play sports. I never ever thought about that, and it's a good life. Our family's growed. I think, what was it? My wife said we got 23 grandkids. 6 of them are great grandkids, and then the rest are regular grandkids. And it's getting too big. Now we got to rent a hall for Christmas. My wife's big on Christmas, and that's when we used to fight the most, because didn't have money for them presents. And so we got a hall. We're going to have. It's hard to get everybody together. So I think we're down in January sometime. I don't know when we're going to get together. I let her handle all that. But it's a good life. I enjoy it. I'm done.
Thanks. Thank you, Leo. I'm Gary, I'm an alcoholic.
Open for comments, but since we ran a little late, I'm gonna let Leo will be here after the meeting, so if anybody want to say anything to him. Congratulations, Leo, on your 35 years. It's been a good 35 years, and so we'll close the meeting with our Father. Leo, you want to close it?
Gary's got short arms, so.
Leo?
Whose father?
Our Father,
who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory forever. Amen. Keep coming back, works of your work.
Good to see you, Steve.
Yeah, good seeing you.
Steve.
Where do they put the trash can this week? Okay.
Yeah.
Going to Sydney on Tuesday?
Yeah. Leo's driving.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.